Okay then guys, so if you've just joined us on this course, then remember that you can get the tab, the backing tracks, the full write-up all over on our website, absolutely free, if you just click the link in the description. As well as that, please do like and comment. We love to hear how you're getting on with the course. And if you have any questions for us, then please go ahead and write them down in the comments and we'll answer every single one of them. All right then guys, so let's get down to it by tackling the kind of elephant in the room. And that is the Ionian scale is really the major scale, right? And that's the gospel, that's the fact. So you will have surely, and I'm absolutely positive about this, come across the major scale in your studies, especially if you've been learning with YGA. We of course tackle the theory and the practical tips behind the major scale. But now, as we enter into a world of modal talk, we need to start thinking of it as Ionian mode, okay? The first mode of the major scale, which is what we're doing here, is the Ionian mode. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing in this lesson is kind of just going over the theory, how you construct the Ionian scale, i.e. the major scale, and basically just talking through the kind of theory that we absolutely have to understand, as well as putting a scale shape onto the neck so that we have a little bit of practical application for that first. So with that out of the way, I mean, you all know now that the major scale and Ionian scale are one and the same thing. Let's just talk about how we create that scale, okay? So to create the Ionian scale, we need a little formula, okay? And that formula is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, okay? So that formula is kind of like a mathematical thing that you apply to all 12 notes of Western music, okay? And if you apply it to all 12 notes, wherever you start, so let's say you start from E, and you go from E to E, so E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. That's all 12 notes, right? And you start and end on E. If you apply that formula, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, to that formula, you'll get your Ionian scale, your major scale, all right? So let's just do that. So if I start on the E, on the low E string, there it is. I'm gonna do a tone up from there. So in terms of guitar, a tone is 2 frets and a semitone is 1 fret. So going 2 frets up from the open E string, I skip the F and I go to F sharp, okay? So that's my first tone, and that therefore is my second note of the scale, E, F sharp. Then we go up another tone, so that's skip 1 fret, go to the next, gives me G sharp. Then I go up a semitone, which gives me A. Then a tone, a tone, a tone, and a semitone. Okay? So it's a nice visual way of learning this, okay? If I just simply, all 12 notes from E to E, starting and ending on E, and I use my formula, so there's the root, then I'm going to go tone up, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And if you listen to that, you can hear, you know, that's the Ionian scale, that's the major scale. We know that distinctive sound, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? And depending on what note you start on, you'll create whatever that Ionian scale is. So for example, if we did it with C, so there's a C here. C on the 3rd fret of the A string. Okay, so if we go a tone up from there, that takes me to D, then another tone, E, then a semitone, F, then a tone, G, then a tone, A, then a tone, B, and then a semitone to C. So again, we've taken, in theory, all 12 notes from C to C. So C, these are all 12 notes from C to C. And we've got ourselves the formula that we've applied to it. And we can hear that that now sounds like the Ionian scale. Okay, so that's the first thing you guys need to learn. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that already, but it's well worth brushing up. Get a notepad, write it down. And a fun exercise just to kind of get you started is pick any note on the neck, anywhere on the neck. So it could be this E, okay? And apply the formula just going up 1 string. So E, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. and we've got ourselves our E major scale. Okay, so it really is as simple as that on the basic level. That's how we create the Ionian mode. Okay, so before we get to a kind of scale shape for this, which we'll do in a minute, we'll kind of go through that. I want to start getting you guys to really listen to the sound of Ionian. Okay, we want to start absorbing how this all sounds, so that when you then hear it on a record or on a track, you start to get used to, okay, what's the feel for this? When can I use this? When do I hear this? So we get to know the mode really in depth. And that's something that we'll do with every single one of the modes. So for this, I'm going to create a little drone on my looper, okay? So I think I'll take, in fact, we've done E, we've done C. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's do G, for example, okay? So I'm going to take G from the D string, 5th fret, that's my G note, and I'm going to do the formula to get the Ionian mode. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Okay, and in the background, I'm just going to have a G note ringing out. Okay, because that's my home, that's my grounding, is the sound of the root, which is the G. So if I just kind of go. Just got that ringing out in the background, just that G. Okay, it's not even a major chord at the moment. Okay, I could fill that out to become a major. But I'm just gonna have the G, the simplest element, just the G root note. And I'm gonna play that major scale going up the neck, so. Oh, ignore that last bit, I'll do that again. So tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone. Back down. You can really hear each note has its own kind of sound, right? So let's have a listen. So there's the 2nd degree, 3rd degree, really pleasing the 3rd degree. Then the 4th degree, then the 5th degree. Listen to these notes. 6th degree, 7th degree, which is desperate to resolve to the 1. Okay, so the 7th degree will always, it's a very powerful note within the Ionian scale because that 7th degree is what pulls it back to home. Really powerfully. Okay, so let's do that again. We'll have a little play around with those notes. 2nd degree. Love that sound. It's kind of quite unresolved because remember, it's only just a tone away from the root. It creates a really interesting sound. Back to the 1. The 3rd is probably one of the more resolved sounds in it because it's the major 3rd. We'd hear that in the chord of G major. Great kind of ending note whenever you're dealing with the mode. Then we've got the 4th. Which is a big note in the Ionian scale. You know, that really is quite quintessential of this mode. You know, you don't hear that in one of the other major modes. It deliberately moves away from that. So this is a big note in the mode. The 5th is obviously the perfect 5th, so again, very resolved. Almost sounds like the root, essentially. Then the 6th. Again, a nice sound, you know, not perfectly resolved, but a really pretty sound against it. And that 7th adds that little bit of tension that pulls it back to that root note. Again, that 7th is a very powerful note. We'll talk more about that as we start to do the scale shapes. Okay, so. Back down. Great. So there we have it. We've got that scale across one string, okay? And we're starting to try and listen. We're listening to this now. So I'm kind of telling you what I'm hearing as I'm going through it, but it's important for you to establish what you hear. What does this sound feel like to you? As an overall tonality, when you group it all together, how does it feel? What emotions does it bring up? What kind of music does it sound like? Is it, is it got that kind of happy vibe? Is it quite ethereal? Like, how does it feel to you? Try and kind of put some words to the sounds here that kind of help you to define the sound of this mode. Because remember, as we go through each mode, we want to know in our head and in our hearts, and as we feel this music, how it sounds to us. So that when we deliberately want to choose a mode, we choose a mode, if you see what I mean. So, okay, I want this kind of very happy, this relaxed kind of sound. I'm going to go for this major, this Ionian mode. Whereas you might feel like, oh, I want a more ethereal, a more eclectic sound, or whatever you describe the Lydian mode as, which is one we'll do in the next series, so in the next, next course. So that's the first thing. Now, the other really cool thing, just to add to this, is that you can put that obviously in a scale shape. So your classic major scale shape, and if we do it on G, looks like this. And if I was to do that across, two octaves, so I'm just going to go through that a little bit slower now. Remember, you can head over to the website if you're watching this on YouTube, and you find that if you've got the course downloaded, then of course you'll see this all in the workbook really clearly. But essentially, all a scale shape is taking the theory, which we've just done there on one string, but putting it into a neat, tidy little bundle. Okay, so it allows you to remember a shape rather than every single time having to remember tone, tone, semi. If you had to do that whilst you were improvising, it's going to be really tough. If I just had to freeform all the time, tone, tone, semitone, tone, and try and remember what tone, what semitone I'm on, it's going to be very tough. That's the beauty of scale shapes. You do that initially, so this is the root, then that's a tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And then we repeat it. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So it puts the same formula, but just in a nice little box that we can then use. So when it comes to then improvising over that G, you can hear how it's much easier to find the sounds because you're just working through a box shape, okay? So I'm just going to walk you through this shape really slowly, okay? Don't worry, in the next couple of lessons we're going to be working on the shapes across the neck. So let me just do this one for you first. It's just a nice place to start because it fits quite neatly underneath that root note of G here in this position, okay? But we'll talk about positions in a minute in the next lessons. So just to go through it slowly, remember you can get this full diagram over on the website or via the workbook if you've downloaded the course. And it goes like this. So root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, root. Go again. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, root. And just to finish the shape, I'm going to go up to the second degree and then come back down. Root, seven, okay? Or if you're doing it in semitones and tones, it'll be semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone. And then we're going to come down semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone. Okay, just going backwards through that formula. So, with that said and done, the first thing I want you guys to do is if you have access to a looper, then get yourself a drone going on. If not, then head on over to the website and we'll have like a drone in a couple of different keys, so a G and A, so you can kind of play around with this. First of all, try and use the formula across the neck as we did, and then learn that shape and just have a play around. Just the concept here is just get a feel for the sound of this mode in its purest form with just a simple root note of the mode behind it and just playing through the 7 notes of the mode over the top of that. We'll really start to get a feel. Okay, so that's it from me in this YouTube lesson. I really hope you enjoyed that. Please remember that you can get the next lesson right here, or you can start from the full, right at the beginning of the playlist, right here as well. Along the way, please do make sure to like each lesson, subscribe to our page, and leave a comment. We love hearing from you, and we'll answer every single question that you have.